Warning, warning. This is a global ice out. Testing the right speaker. Right. Testing the left speaker. Left. Sound successfully recovered. Swan Commander. Connected. And now, the countdown has begun. And now, are you ready for a journey that goes beyond the norms? The Federal Prospects Hockey League just celebrated its 15th anniversary. With a footprint and fan base rapidly expanding, Swan Hockey is now bringing you behind the scenes. Beyond what you see at games. Beyond the arenas. Beyond the crowds. This is FPHL, Beyond the Glass.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of FPHL Beyond the Glass, the official podcast of the Federal Prospects Hockey League. I'm your host, Eric Swanick, Swan Commander on social media. And what do we got in store today? So today we're going to fly around the league, take a look at the latest, and then we're going to be joined by Reid Cooper, goaltender for the Port Huron Prowlers. One thing that I think a lot of people don't know about Reid Cooper is his first professional game was in the NHL with the Washington Capitals, a regular season game. We're going to dive into that with Reid. And then we're also going to be joined by Dave Jackson, who's going to give us, his take on the suspensions over the weekend. Let's go. All right, so let's dive into it. We're going to start in the Continental Division. So the biggest probably point right now is the Monroe-Athens battle. And I think this is going to come down to the wire. We're going to see, this is going to be probably one of the storylines in that division, I would say, for the remainder of the season. Athens has taken over first place by 1 point. So Athens is at 70 points. Monroe's at 69. They're both at the same amount of games played with 29. And this is going to be a battle. Athens, like I said, has overtaken the first spot. Monroe is still, the hottest team in the division. They are on a 14-game win streak after this weekend. They're going to be going for win number 15. So Monroe still on an absolute heater. This battle is going to be extremely exciting to watch. Athens had a big crowd this weekend. They were just under 6,000, and then Columbus was just over 6,000. So two teams this weekend with crowds right around 6,000. You guys are turning up, and it's keep going. What do we got? We got the Columbus River Dragons and we're going to transition over to the Empire Division with this. So River Dragons were playing Blue Ridge, and Blue Ridge, we talked about it last week, how Blue Ridge is in that battle in the Empire for that final playoff spot, before we go any further, I think I've been told there's some confusion about the playoffs in the Federal League this year. So the playoffs are going to work like this. In each division, one is going to play 4, 2 is going to play 3 for a best of 3 game series. Then the winners of each series are going to play each other. And then the winners, each division champion, they will meet in the Commissioner Cup finals. And that also, every series is going to be best 2 or 3, except for the Commissioner's Cup finals. That can either be best 2 or 3 or best 3 or 5. The teams will decide that. So Blue Ridge, we talked about it last week, how they were in that battle, that 4-5 battle for that last playoff spot. They've really made some headway in that with their wins over Columbus this weekend. Justin Gisso playing a big part in that, 5 goals this weekend. Pretty crazy. And Watertown has leaped over Danbury for the number 5 spot. So really we have 3 teams in the Empire all competing for that final 4th playoff spot. Blue Ridge, Watertown, Danbury. And Watertown, as I said, has jumped over Danbury for the time being. It's very close. They're both at 34 points. Watertown's got a game in hand, though. Stephen Klink with back-to-back hat tricks this weekend against the hat tricks for Watertown, obviously playing a massive part in their success this weekend. So lots of really exciting things happening in both divisions. going on, Reid? How are you, man?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. How about yourself?
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Doing well. Kind of crazy that half the season's like over now, which kind of I realized that when we did the halfway point review last week, and I'm like, man, this is flying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've had a hockey season fly by this fast before. It's gone in the blink of an eye, so it just makes you appreciate every day just because of how fast it goes.
Yeah, for sure. Let's dive into you and your season. So you're having a really good season so far, right? So goalie of the month, October, November. You are first in the league in wins, which that's the biggest stat, right? Like I know everyone loves save percentage and goals against and all that. Like those are important and huge and everything. But at the end of the day, winning, right? Number one. You're first in the league in wins. Walk us through the first part of your season here.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's been great. Like, I think the first kind of little quarter of the year, I think we were kind of feeling some things out, learning our systems, hammering things down in the defensive zone offensively. And then we went on a little tough stretch there. We had a little 6-game skid. Then we bounced back 7 games in a row and just came off a little break, and now we're back into it. But it's been great. We have an unreal group of guys. We're really tight knit, and like you said, like the wins is the biggest thing. Like you can get easily distracted by stats, but we don't really worry about that. We just worry about how to get the job done, and it's really fun to do it with this group. And we're just excited to keep it going into the second half of the year.
Yeah, for sure. What's been the biggest difference this year as opposed to last year? So like, starting in Port Huron this year, where last year you came to Port Huron partways through the season. What's been the difference, like just in terms of, or is there no difference just in terms of kind of, I don't want to say gelling with the team, but just being there from day one this year?
Yeah, honestly, that did make a big difference. I think being here last year, obviously, it took a little, I guess, feeling out time. When you're with a new team, it takes a little time to get comfortable and start being yourself. And I think that was like one of the biggest things personally for me this year was just coming right to Port. Not worrying about anything else. Like I knew in the summer,
Yeah.
like I was going to be coming back here from day one, and so that was where my focus was, and that made it a lot easier to just like know that I have one goal, and that's come to this team and win a championship. And when you don't have to worry about anything else and just like narrow your focus, I think that really helped. And then just obviously, like again, the group of guys, like you can be yourself. Like no one's afraid to say anything in the room. So I mean, that just makes it even that much better.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you've had a wild ride. You have a lot of experience in a lot of different places. You played junior in the BCHL, went Division One NCAA, transferred to Division Three NCAA. Then your first professional game, which I don't think a lot of people out there notice, was in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, that was. I guess it was my first pro game.
And for everyone out there, it was a regular season game.
Yeah, it was their last regular season game of the year.
Yeah, what was that like? Walk us through that. It's like what were you doing when that all materialized?
Well, it's pretty crazy the way it worked out because our college season ended at Curry, and we'd been off for a couple weeks, and then Knoxville called, and they wanted to call me up. So I ended up going to the border, and it just never ended up working out. Like the paperwork wasn't correct. So it was a big it was kind of a big bummer at the time. But then I came back home, and I think it was like a week later I got that call from Washington. It was from Danny Brooks. He's their head of college or amateur recruitment. And I guess he saw me play. And when we played our second last NCAA game against Bowdoin, and I played pretty well, like we got the win. And and then he just said like they didn't have enough cap space to call up a guy from the A. So he knew of me, and then I got the call, and I got the call Tuesday, left Wednesday around noon, and pregame skate Thursday or morning skate Thursday morning, and then on the bench for the game on Thursday night.
Yeah, it's awesome. What was the best part of it?
There was a ton of like unreal memories. I remember like after I got home, like I wrote down everything so I didn't forget any details. But like there were just so many things that happened. Like even just playing like pregame sewer with the guys, like
Yeah.
underneath the rink, like being on the bench, sitting beside Ovechkin. Like he goes to me. We're up halfway through the game against the Devils, and he turns to me and he asks me if coach is going to put me in. I said, yeah, I don't know if that's not my call to make, but yeah, I mean, just little things like that. I mean, even like after the morning skate, just eating breakfast with the guys and stuff. There are so many little things that happened, but yeah, I mean, just being on the bench was like the entire time I was there, it just felt like a movie. Like it didn't even feel real.
Yeah. What was like the welcome moment, like where you're like, oh, like the biggest, like first cool thing where it's like, all right, yeah, like I'm here.
I think that first thing was going to the practice rink in the morning, and one of the first faces I saw was Darcy Kemper, who I skate with in the summers. Actually, he's from
Okay.
Saskatoon, and so just seeing him like in the dressing room, like shake my hand, like, and then you see Oshie, and then you see Baxter, and then you see Carlson and Wilson and like Ovechkin, and I think that was the moment where it was like, wow, like, they got my name bar up on the dry stall. Like, I think that was the moment, just like meeting those guys in the dry stall area, like changing into my Capitals getch. Like,
Yeah.
that was probably the moment where I was like, okay, this is real.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sick. That's sick. That's awesome. Yeah. What was I gonna ask you? Oh, was the game home or were you guys in Washington or in New Jersey?
In Washington.
That's cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it was unreal. And I was taken care of by one of the call-ups, Beck Malenstein. He had been living in the hotel that they put me in, and so he was kind of like the guy that drove me to the game, and he was kind of the guy like helped me out like just for little stuff. And
Yeah.
but yeah, like it was pretty sweet.
Yeah. Is that like the ultimate free pass now? Like, so in Port Huron or wherever else you've been, like, you guys get to the hotel. It's like, all right, who's going to get the good rooms? NHL. Right. Or no, unless now with Matt Graham, who's probably like coach.
Yeah.
But
The boys definitely they don't let me hear the end of it some days. Like, it was a cool moment, but it was 3 years ago. So yeah, no, it's always a good thing to joke around with, but the boys definitely take it a little far sometimes. But
why? What do they do? What do they do?
oh, they just say, "Oh, you're such a big dog. Like you played for Washington. Oh, you're like better than all of us."
Like just over the top. Like, oh no, please, you take the best hotel room.
Yeah, along those lines. So I take it pretty well, but sometimes I just need to, all right.
Yeah. No, it's all in good fun. But yeah, nice. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So, walk us through, kind of the rest of it, like how you got from, to Port Huron last year and, just getting settled in and everything. And, walk us through that, like more of your career. Cause like I said, you've been in a lot of places, like you got a lot of really cool experience. We want to hear about it.
Yeah, for sure. So my first year pro, I ended up going to South Carolina in the East Coast League. They're affiliates with the Capitals, so that's kind of how it worked out. Got a couple opportunities there. Didn't make the best of a couple of them. Got some wins and it was fun, but wasn't really playing a whole lot. And that year, I was kind of pretty much just like on the bench or in the stands for most of it. And, I don't think anyone really wants to do that. You want to be playing, getting reps, building your confidence, getting better as a player, as a person. And so then the next year, so actually at the end of that year, I finished with Pensacola, which led me to going to Pensacola the next year. So my second year, which was last year, started there, didn't end up working out. Then I kind of bounced around to a few places in the SPHL. I went to Macon, after Macon, that's when I went to Port. So I was in Port for a month. got a few games, back up to Evansville for a month, didn't really play much, went to quad for a little bit, and then I came back to Port for about the last 3 months of last year. And I was happy to stay, like all the moving around, takes a toll on you. It's just, you kind of want to feel settled. And I think with all that moving and bouncing around, you don't really know where you stand on the teams. And it's hard to really build confidence and consistent reps, building days off each other when you're not really sure of what's going on or, if you have a spot in the team. So I knew that when I came back to Port, they're thrilled to have me, and that's where I was, able to build my confidence and, work with a great group of guys. And that led to this year, me coming right here from the start of the year and, just kind of pick up where I left off last year. It's been really good.
Yeah. And like you said, that stability and everything. And obviously, you're off to a great season this year. I mean, I've seen you play, and I know, I remember, what was it? Probably, I want to say week 3, maybe. AJ from Danbury, AJ Gaunty, was back on the podcast, and, he was singing your praises, and he's even he's like, if anybody from the ECHL is watching, call this kid up. I don't want to play against him anymore.
I didn't see that clip. That's nice.
Yeah. So yeah, it was, he was singing your praises. And like I said, I mean, you're obviously off to a great start of the season. What's been the most fun for you this season?
The most fun? I mean, nothing's more fun than winning. It's probably cliche, but just coming to the rink every day. I mean, there's never really a dull moment in that dressing room. There's always banter. There's always some stupid story flying around. So, I mean, that's what makes it the most enjoyable is the guys. So, I mean, that and just winning hockey games and, bleeding with my brothers. We pride ourselves on being physical, being very smothering to play against. And it really shows, and that's how we practice too. Our coaches do a great job of motivating us and, making sure we're doing the right things, staying disciplined, and all on the same page. And so that's what makes it fun, just the group of guys and all being on the same page.
Yeah, awesome. Give the fans the dumbest thing you guys have got going on in the locker room right now that might not even make any sense. I remember when I played, the dumbest, most fun thing, we did, I don't know if you guys do it anymore, but kangaroo court was awesome. I don't know. Do you guys still do that?
Yeah, we do court on Wednesdays. So that's everyone looks forward to Wednesdays because there's
who gets fined the most?
I'd say Luke James is probably up there for sure. I get fined here and there, but nowhere near to Luke James level. So I would say that's probably number 1 on the team.
And who's the judge?
Well, I guess Parsons is the judge, but we kind of do sometimes we'll have to vote on something. We'll go around the room and vote.
It's that's what we always did. We always had a vote, but then then we had a judge who had the final.
No, we don't really have a judge, honestly. Parsons is at the front of the room, he's holding the stick, and then we pass the stick around the room, and whoever has the stick is talking. But he's kind of the one to start court and end it. But I wouldn't say he's the judge.
Okay. And for fans that have no idea what we're talking about, kangaroo court or court, it's just you go around the room and you fine each other for some teams are more serious than others. Some teams it's legitimate fines. Other teams it's some legitimate fines, oh, you're late to team practice, but then it just goes completely off the rails and there's no telling what's going to happen. Some of it doesn't even make sense, but it's just the best thing ever.
Yeah, no, we keep it pretty fun, but there is some serious stuff in there, but it's not we're taking it too seriously. It's just be better. But yeah, I remember in college, one of my good buddies, Tao Shizuka, he'd find he'd look at the palest guy on the team and say, "Sun is free, fine." That's $1.
yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, or somehow some of it gets reversed. One of the funniest ones from when I played, I remember this one kid, he's like, we're getting ready to go out, and I went to take a shower. I had all my clothes laid out on the bed, and when I got back, my socks were gone, and I couldn't find my socks. I had to not wear socks the whole day, and he's like, it was snowing, it was freezing. He's like, we get to so-and-so's house and we take our shoes off and he's wearing my socks. Like, he's like, so I want to fine him for stealing my socks. And, so the other kid grabs the talking stick. He's like, hold on a minute. He goes, you could fine me for stealing his socks, but he didn't wear socks. That's gross. Like, and then we fined him instead for not wearing socks.
Yeah. It always turns around on you somehow.
What is that?
It always turns around on you somehow.
Yeah. Sometimes you're better off just being quiet.
Yeah. It's fun. It's one of the best days of the week for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Reid, anything you want to end off with?
Not really. I mean, thanks for having me on though. Like it's been fun little chat here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Yeah, it's definitely been fun. We'll have to have you on again.
Of course, I would love to do that.
So awesome. Well, thanks again, Reid. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, Eric.
What's going on, Dave? How are we this week?
Eric, I'm good. I'm good. Had a busy weekend. I had a lot of things to look at, a lot of stuff going on, some great hockey games, and we're rolling along. We're halfway through the season, maybe just a little past it, and things are heating up. Races are heating up, and fans are heating up, and all kinds of feedback on the social media pages and everything. So it's great.
Yep, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, I really liked last week's episode. Kind of diving into the referee side of things and everything, and kind of sharing some with everybody.
It's funny. I think last week's episode was pretty well received. I heard from some of the officials that thanked me for just explaining the grind of their job and what they go through. And I heard from fans that it really opened their eyes. They didn't realize really what it entailed. I mean, sometimes, like I said last week, sometimes fans think that we just, go out to the parking lot and sign up a guy to come in and put a striped sweater on. They didn't realize how dedicated and they're dedicated to the game of hockey and dedicated to their craft and how hard these guys work and what they sacrifice for. So, once again, just a shout out to the guys, not just in our league, but to officials from the NHL all the way down to kids doing squirt and minor hockey. I mean, it's a commitment, and
absolutely,
if you're in it for accolades and stuff, you're in it for the wrong reason, because you're never going to get them. It's all about self accolades and just knowing inside you did a good job and feeling good about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I got some great feedback on last week's episode too. So yeah, no, it's great. Let's dive into it. Some of the things that these guys had to deal with this week.
Yeah, so I think the first one occurred. We had a 2-game suspension for slurs. Now, it's become a real issue, and it's raised its ugly head again. We had a problem 2 years ago, and beginning of last season, the executive board addressed it. They created a policy. It's not my policy, but they created a policy. Lewd gestures and slurs. So I think we can all guess what a lewd gesture is, what it entails.
Yeah, I think we had some good examples.
Yeah, I mean, everybody sees, guys flipping the bird, but then we have other ones with sexual connotations involved. I mean, there's no place in the game for that, especially when we're trying to promote family entertainment. And then when we come to slurs, people think of a slur, they think of a racial slur. Well, that's one of them, but there's also slurs against intellectually challenged individuals. There is sexual, homophobic slurs, things like that. And sometimes people will say, well, it's just part of the game of hockey. It's just the guys don't mean anything. They're just saying it. And I understand that to some degree. But when you're shouting that out loud on the ice, these aren't NHL buildings. Like people in the stands can hear what goes on the ice. And if I'm sitting in the stands with my child, with my family, even if, it might affect me personally, what is being said. And if we're going to start allowing and not addressing people making slurs against certain groups of people, even though it might not be intended that way, it's still offensive. So if you're caught saying something like this, if you're caught making a gesture like this, it's an automatic 2-game suspension. And then if you do it a second time within a year, it's an automatic 4-game suspension. And 3 strikes, you're out. It's a 1-year ban. So these guys are on notice. And unfortunately, we haven't had any even second-time offenders.
I was just going to ask, do we have anybody that's on strike 2 already? And
we don't, fortunately. So maybe it's working, but honestly, I would rather see where we don't have any first-time offenders. There's just no need for it. You can say lots of witty stuff. You can really get under someone's skin without resorting to that type of language. So that's just something I sent an email to the teams. I go, remind your players, there's things you can and cannot say, and the stuff that you cannot say shouldn't be said. I don't care how angry you are.
And this was voted on by the team. So this list of inappropriate terms is what you were provided from the teams. Hey, this is what we all agree on. This is what we want.
To a degree, we do not have a list because
or categories or
we have categories. We
okay.
And that falls on my shoulders. I don't want to put a list of these are the words you can't use, because then somebody will use another word and they go, well, that's not on the list. But it's
Right.
hurtful and it's derogatory. So it would apply. So I have to use my best judgment. But the bottom line is, I don't think anybody would condone some of this language if it happened on the street, at the workplace, in an office. People would be offended. So there's no place for it in our game either. We got kids, we have men, women at the game. We just demand a higher standard from our players and coaches and officials. And I think the penalties are working because, as I said, we don't have any second-time offenders. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's the silver lining in all of it. And,
it is. We had an instigator in the final 5 minutes. So interesting about this rule is that rule was put in there to prevent guys from starting fights when there's nothing really left to lose. It's the last 5 minutes of the game. You're going to get a 5-minute major for fighting anyways. Scores out of hand. We don't want guys taking retribution late in the game. So it says right in the rule book, an instigator in the final 5 minutes of play is an automatic game misconduct, which means it's up for review. And it does say that you're subject to a 1-game suspension. We don't normally suspend for instigators, but instigators in the last 5 minutes is subjective. It's in the rule book that I can suspend. And what I do, the way I look at it, is if it's an organic fight. So if you're chasing the puck in the corner, Eric, I come in and I cheap shot you. I hit you high, I bury you with an elbow into the glass, and you turn around and jump me, I'm probably not going to suspend for instigator there because it was organic.
Sure.
But if you run our goalie in the first period and then we're chirping all game and now we're up 6-0 in the third period, I come on the ice, come to the face-off, I drop my gloves and jump you. That's not an organic fight. That's retribution from something happened earlier. You will be suspended. So we had a player. Sense. Yeah, we had a player this week from Athens. I don't know what caused it. I honestly don't. We had an icing panel, an icing call. He's getting back down the ice. The two players hadn't come together at least in several seconds before that. And he went after the player. He jawed with him, bumped him, dropped his gloves down, and threw a punch at him. He got suspended. That is what we don't want late in the game. You have to have some restraint. You can't just be jumping guys. So that's the difference. People go, well, how come he was suspended for being an instigator last 5 minutes and other guys weren't? Well, if you actually read my decisions, read my reviews, I explain the difference. And that's why he got suspended.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We had an aggressor penalty on Binghamton. Again, instigator and aggressor are completely separate rules. Instigator is somebody who starts a fight that ends up being a fight. An aggressor is somebody who jumps somebody who doesn't want to fight, never fights, and just gets, the brakes beaten off him. And the other guy just keeps throwing punches until a linesman jump in. That's an aggressor penalty. And on the clock, that's usually a 5-minute versus a 0-minute. 5-minute power play and a game misconduct. Well, the aggressor assessed to Binghamton, I rescinded because it wasn't an aggressor penalty. He was continuing an altercation. He got jumped to start with. And you have to understand, for these referees, it looks really easy for me. I'm watching from a video. I put it in slow motion. Watch it 5 or 6 times. It's easy for me to make those determinations. It's not so easy on the ice when you've got 10 guys dropping their gloves. Everybody's paired up. You got something happening to your left, something to your right.
Yeah, you're kind of looking all over.
It's mayhem. It really is. And I've been in those situations, and I feel for the referees. You don't always get it right. So that's where I step in. I'm okay with them making the call. What they felt in their gut, they make the call, and then I just either confirm it or rescind it. This one I chose to rescind. We also had a match penalty for sucker punch. That one I also explained. A sucker punch, and you've played enough hockey. A sucker punch in hockey is a punch delivered to somebody who is unsuspecting. You know, you're standing in front of the net, you're engaged with somebody, or possibly there's a linesman between you, and everything's sort of settled down. Nobody's really that mad anymore, and a punch comes out of nowhere and hits you right in the face when you had no idea you were about to get hit. And it's designed to injure the player as well. I mean, if you're going to throw a punch at somebody who's not expecting it, you should know that there's a good chance you're going to injure him. Well, the one we had called this weekend, the 2 players were engaged. They were face to face. They were grabbing on with each other, pushing, shoving back and forth, jawing at each other. And one player, with his gloves still on, took a swipe at the guy and sort of bounced it off his chin. He ended up getting suspended for continuing an altercation, not listening to the linesman, but I rescinded the match penalty. That is not a match penalty. A match penalty is attempt to injure or deliberate injury. And that did not fall under that category. That was not a sucker punch. So that's the difference. And that's why he did not get the match penalty. And then finally, we had an abusive official call, which I understand how the rule's written. And I think we're going to be changing that in the rules, the way it's written. Abusive official is either A, it's physical abuse, where you intentionally swing or hit an official. It can be abuse in the sense that a linesman has you tied up and you don't want to be tied up. You still want to get at the other player. So you push him, not really designed to hurt the official or whatever, but you're just trying to get away from him, but it's still physical abuse. Or when you're abusing an official, verbally telling him, you know, I'll meet you in the parking lot, or I'm going to kick your butt, or any one of, you know, you can imagine the kind of threats players could make towards officials. That's abusive official. When you have a player who doesn't like his penalty and he's telling you to wake up and drops a few F-bombs with it, the referee penalizes you appropriately, puts you in the box, you bang your stick on the glass, you drop a few more F-bombs, and you end up getting ejected for something like that. It's definitely an ejection, but it's verbal abuse. It's not, I know it sounds like semantics here, but if you threaten an official, you push an official, you touch an official, you put the official's safety in jeopardy, then I'm suspending for abusive officials. If it's just verbal abuse during the game, we take care of it with tossing you out of the game. Your team gets a 2-minute, has to kill a 2-minute penalty kill. And
Right.
To me, that's enough of a penalty. The only time I will suspend for just pure verbal abuse is if the game's over. Because as you know, in this league, we don't fine players.
Yep. Yeah. There's gotta be something.
They don't make a lot of money, and we don't want to take money out of their pocket because they're not making a lot of money. They're playing for the love of the game. So we don't take money out of their pocket. But if I don't suspend them when it occurs post game, that means they get away with 0 consequences.
Right.
And we can't have that. And we tell our referees, when the game's over, the losing team is not going to be happy. So do not overreact. You know, when a guy has something in passing to say as he goes off the ice, ignore it. Ignore it. Go away. But if a guy will not leave you alone, and if he's making his point to tell you how bad he thinks he is, and he's throwing in a bunch of F-bombs and basically, you know, degrading you.
Yeah, and like pursuing you. Like if he in passing, fine, but changes his route to pursue you.
That's right. And that's when the game's over, he knows there's nothing you can do to him.
Yeah.
You're not going to hurt the team. The game's over. And I can't find the player for something like that. so he's being suspended. And then people sometimes say, well, he said a couple of swear words, you're suspending him for a game. I have no choice. The player has to realize that if he's going to go down that route when the game's over and think that there's absolutely zero recourse, you can get away with whatever you want because the game's over, you have to learn that you can't do that.
Yeah.
And I will suspend when the verbal abuse occurs post-game. So that was what we had this weekend. We had a couple other ones I looked at. There was 4 or 5 others where guys were given game misconducts for things they did. Penalty stood. The game misconduct wasn't necessarily called for, and we just let it ride. I call it time served. The guy got a 5 in game. He missed the last half of the game. Possibly it was a little overcalled. So he's paid his debt to society. He missed half a game. I'm not going to compound it by suspending him.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well,
that's what we had.
Sounds good. Hopefully these guys calm it down a little bit. We're rolling good there for a while, but
we were. But on the flip side, if they calm it down, then I become the Maytag repairman, and I just sit around without the phone ringing. So I don't want that either. So
yeah,
let's keep it going.
All right, sounds good. I will see you soon, Dave.
Sounds good, Eric. Take care.
Lots of awesome stuff. All right, let's do our proof of attendance token code for this episode. The proof of attendance token code for this episode is going to be FPHL. Enter it in on the podcast page at swanhockey.io to be able to receive your proof of attendance token for watching this episode. And the redemptions for the proof of attendance tokens will go until 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. So 9 p.m. Eastern tonight's the cutoff. Collect 5 or more of these tokens right now, and you get access to Club Fed. For more information, join the Discord. And that's going to do it for this episode. Until next time, I will see you guys soon.
Thank you for being the best part of this episode of FPHL Beyond the Glass by Swan Hockey. We will see you soon.